In 1930, Germany is in the midst of the Great Depression. Factories are closing. Unemployment is at 4.5 million. People are starving. Chaos has returned to the streets. One man has predicted this all along. Adolf Hitler, the one-time jailbird, looks like a prophet. And he says there's only one solution. Put him in charge. But do the German people really know what they're getting? This is the story of how Adolf Hitler subverts the democratic process and finally seizes power in Germany. As Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party prepare themselves for the 1930 general election in September, Germany is in economic meltdown. Hitler blames it on the democratic Weimar government imposed on Germany after the First World War. He'd warned about the dangers of relying on American loans before the Wall Street crash. Now the loans have been called in. The country's in a desperate situation. And all the government can offer is austerity.
The policy is cuts, 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 and more cuts. And this depresses the economy and makes things worse and increases the unemployment. Germany looks like it's in a never-ending cycle of boom and depression, misery and high unemployment.
But for Hitler, this disastrous situation is an opportunity.
The person who's cheering the most is Hitler, because he now looks like a guru. He's actually predicted that this would happen, and it's actually happened. And of course, a lot of people are swayed when somebody is proved right.
Hitler and his propaganda man, Joseph Goebbels, have a master plan to win power in Germany by democratic means. Goebbels throws himself into a campaign designed to appeal directly to the suffering German people.
It was very blunt and very simple. So, bread, work, freedom, direct slogans offering a lofty and noble vision of things that were lacking in Germany.
There's a famous poster, and it just shows a series of people who look in the middle of depression. It says, Germany's last hope, Hitler.
As part of his strategy, Goebbels sends Hitler on speaking tours across the country, traveling from town to town. Using his newly polished skills as an orator, they convince people they can make Germany strong again.
You've got to look at the position of your average German citizen who's feeling impoverished. The future looks very uncertain. How am I going to feed my children? Am I going to keep my job? And you look at this newfangled Weimar form of government and you're thinking it's not really giving the answers.
Goebbels' brilliantly orchestrated campaign allows Hitler to present himself as new and different.
None of the Weimar politicians had an ounce of the charisma that Hitler brought to the party. They were essentially bourgeois, middle-of-the-road, conventional politicians. Hitler swept all that away. He looked different, especially when he was in speaking mode. or standing in a car saluting his stormtroopers marching past. He looked little less than a god. And Germans had never seen anything like this before.
It's not just his image. Hitler has radical new policies. He promises to turn the economy around by refusing to pay war compensation to the Allies, as set out in the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War. And he promises desperate farmers in the countryside, who've seen the collapse of agricultural prices, a better life.
He says all of this misery that is heaped on rural communities is due to the Wall Street crash. Come to the Nazi Party and we'll give you a new deal for the rural voter.
Above all, he vows to put the unemployed back to work. But he also uses the opportunity to focus on his real agenda: the Jews. He blames the economic crisis on them.
He said it was all the Jewish plot. This notion there's always been there. Our problems, they might be less at times, more intense at others, but they're always there, and they're always Jewish in origin. The great bankers of the world are Jewish. It's a world international plot of the Jews to bring cultured civilizations under their control. People were ready to believe it. And of course he can say, get rid of the Jews and your jobs will come back.
When the election results come in that September, the Nazi strategy works. They win almost 6.5 million votes. At the last election in 1928, they'd managed only 810,000. Their representation in the Reichstag, Germany's parliament, grows from 12 seats to 107. It's just 36 seats fewer than the biggest party in the ruling coalition, the Social Democrats. The Nazis are now the second most popular party in Germany. With the governing coalition riddled with instability and infighting, Hitler knows that there will be another election soon. So he and Goebbels set about capitalizing on their success by increasing the Nazi Party's profile.
Hitler said, I want to be noticed. I want Germany to notice us. He said, propaganda comes first, ideas come second.
Their very best propaganda tool is the rally. Since 1927, the Nazis have held their annual rally in the medieval city of Nuremberg. 100 miles north of Munich, it's one of the areas which is the most sympathetic to the Nazi cause. By the early 1930s, and in the years that follow, the rallies reach a truly colossal scale.
Hitler seemed to know instinctively what would work and what would hit the masses.
Venues decorated with flowers and Nazi symbols are surrounded on all sides by the uniformed SA brown shirts.
You would have men marching in immaculate ranks in perfect uniforms. You would have red and white swastikas on huge banners.
Down to the smallest detail of insignia, medals, songs, music, marching. They paid great attention to all of this, and they sought through this to portray the Nazi Party as one of order, unity, of loyalty, of discipline.
For added drama, many of the rallies reach their climax at night.
Nazis made very effective use of special lighting effects. At nighttime, there were torchlit processions. This was not just a formal political event, it was a spiritual coming together of the nation and the culmination of an almost religious experience.
With the masses in eager anticipation, finally comes the main event, the arrival of Hitler. It's another piece of carefully constructed audience manipulation.
I don't think there's any record of ever starting a speech at the scheduled time. He made people, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes 40, sometimes an hour, hour and a half. Heighten the expectation. When will he come? Is he coming? And then the whisper would go round, yes, he's coming, he's approaching. And this buzz would go around the great auditorium.
Then, from the back of the arena, Hitler would walk in, the floodlights would come on him.
After an accompaniment of drums, fanfares and Nazi salutes, Hitler then starts his speech.
He whispered to begin with. People strained to hear him.
He knows how to conduct the crowd. It's kind of quite quiet. You need to turn the volume up. Is he stuttering? You're kind of worried that he's forgotten what he's going to say. So you feel slightly sympathetic towards him.
And then build up, get slightly faster. And then the gestures would come in. The flung out arm, the hand going back, and that, he should do that. As if there was an intensity in him that had to be expressed.
This is all perfect theatre, and it looks so powerful, and no one else has really done this before.
And of course, if you're halfway towards him anyway, it's enrapturing.
But if the adoring fans think they know him, they don't. Behind the scenes, a scandal is brewing in his personal life, which is about to threaten his newfound popularity.